from the Exchange Tower in downtown Toronto, it's Midas Letter RAW, starring Ed the Head Milewski.
Ed the Head Milewski.
How you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good.
When you pause that much, it means you had to think about it, and maybe it's not so good.
No, it's good. I found out this week that someone I knew that I really thought was a smart guy dropped dead. 48. Ooh, 40. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into specifics, but it's sort of, and I'm aware of my mortality, but this made me a little bit more aware of my mortality.
Got it.
Because I felt like, because I liked the guy. I thought, I don't like that many people. As you've probably found out.
Well, speaking of people, in this office we have quite the number of. They're mostly Brits, if not all Brits.
A lot of
Irish,
people.
But they brought it to our attention that it's Eurovision, so this weekend. So I don't know if people remember this 2010 saxophone guy. This stuff used to pop up more on. Look at him go.
Look at that.
Look at him go.
Look, he's got the move down.
I don't think that's even legal anymore.
Is that George Michael? No.
No, it's some European. Anyway, it's on. So that was fun. But I remember when that stuff used to happen on the regular on YouTube. You'd get these viral things like the kid with turtles.
Hey, I even remember. I got one for you. I remember before YouTube. Or no, before, would you say Facebook?
YouTube.
MyTube, YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at a loss for words. But there's been these things that have come and gone, like the kid who said, I like turtles, that got like 1 billion views. There's what about Suzanne's on the
cameras?
side there. What's the hide your kids, hide your wife, remember that one?
No.
Yeah, some...
hide your kid, hide your wife.
Yeah, there's like some...
in the trunk of your car with
I'm going
to
search it later because I'm looking like I'm some kind of
I think I know
bad guy. So
Jesus, what are you talking about?
Anyway, can I get some help in the control room?
Okay, you know what? Why don't we go on to the world of business?
Right. And today's show, we have the news coming up in probably less than a minute. We have Elsa Navarro, Khiron Life Sciences, Alan Brochstein from 420Investor.
Regular.
Great talk with him, and Ingrid Hibbard from Pelangio Exploration Inc.
Yeah.
I think you did that.
Yeah, I did that, and her father discovered a very famous mine in Canada.
And so we're going to look at a chart or two, and then also I went to JWCA for a second look at their GrowthSTORM, so we're going to show you that site tour today.
Good.
Great.
Good. Okay.
Before we go to the news, let's a quick. Uber is a big IPO, right?
Now, if you want, you can now own a piece of the business that you keep paying money to move you around. Uber is a public company starting today. You can buy it, you can sell it.
What's the price per share? Just so we have an idea.
The last trade, according to this, is about $43.75, and I think the new issue price was $45. That means it's at a discount. Yeah. Okay, it's at a slight.
Well,
what's
the market cap?
Well, they just sold 180 million shares.
Yeah.
I think it's about $80 billion.
Wow.
80 billion.
There's your chart.
It's not my chart, chart.
No, but it's
okay. Now 43.33 now. Okay, so it's dropping.
You know what's interesting though? We just saw
last at 43.24. It looks like.
Yeah, we just saw the Beyond Meat IPO, which was awesome. It was it went from 25 to what? 60?
It opened at around 43.
Yeah.
44, 45 in that range. I can put that up as well. I think I will.
But that was like
it went to
massive.
$85.
Yeah.
And I was just about ready to buy some at 84, thinking it'll keep going, and I didn't. And today you could have bought it for 62.
Yeah.
Or 61 or something like that.
But if you wanted to chase it, you actually could have, because by 10 a.m. it still hadn't.
Hey, if I wanted to chase cars, I would have probably been a dog.
That's.
Just saying.
Good. Well, speaking of all this, these are two big events. Let's look at some more events and go to the news.
Okay.
Here are the headlines moving markets today. MediPharm Labs Corp is reporting a loss of $573,000 in Q1 2019 as the company released its first quarter financial results for the 3 months ending on March 31st, 2019. MediPharm's revenue was reportedly $22 million, a 115% increase over Q4 2018, with a gross profit of $6.9 million, representing a gross margin of 31%. The company's adjusted EBITDA was $4.3 million, a 102% increase over Q4 2018. Tilt Holdings announced the appointment of Mark Scatterday to the position of Interim Chief Executive Officer, effective immediately. The board of directors of Tilt have formed a committee and are in the process of identifying a long-term CEO candidate to lead the company through its next growth phase. Alex Coleman, the company's former CEO, has stepped down and will remain as chairman of the board and continue to focus on corporate development and strategy, including possibly a separate public listing in the U.S. for qualifying assets, partnership, or joint ventures. Golden Leaf Holdings announced that the present CFO, Karen Barsa, will succeed William Kulshicki as the CEO and president of the company, effective immediately. Ms. Barsa will remain CFO during the search for a CFO to succeed her. Curaleaf Holdings announced the launch of Bido. Bido are hemp-based CBD products for pets. CBD has been shown in initial third-party studies to support a pet's overall wellness, including the potential to help manage pain and anxiety. All Bido products can be purchased online at curaleafhemp.com. Heritage Cannabis Holdings Corp announced that it has exercised its option to purchase Canacure Corporation's facility in Fort Erie, Ontario. The closing of the facility will take place in the next 60 days pursuant to the terms of the property purchase option agreement. As a result of the closing, the company will acquire the 122,000 square foot facility for the option price of $2.2 million funded from the proceeds on hand. Canacure has already transformed approximately 24,000 square feet of the licensed space within the facility, with the additional 98,000 square feet ready for Phase 2 extraction and Phase 3 contract manufacturing expansion. Abacus Health Products announced further growth in the distribution and availability of their line of CBD medic products. New purchase orders from 4 U.S. retail chains, including Kinney Drugs, SuperValue, and Tops Markets, increases the availability of CBD medic products to over 1,400 pharmacy and supermarket retail locations throughout the United States. Vivo Cannabis Inc. announced that its wholly owned subsidiary, Canna Farms Limited, has completed registration with Alberta Gaming Liquor and Cannabis to supply the province of Alberta with its cannabis products. Canna Farms is preparing its first shipments for immediate delivery to AGLC. And that's your news for today.
Thanks, Ricky. And
Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah, we should thank Ricky more often. That was
Well, I would like to thank her more than once a week.
yeah. So we were talking a little bit more about Beyond Meat, just because that was quite a successful launch.
Do you hear that if you want to buy some of these burgers, you can't get them? Like they limit you to how many you can buy? Who ever heard of that?
Well, they're expensive too. I think in Canada you can get them at Costco besides A&W and
Like what, $10 a piece or something like
no,
that?
I think it's $4 a patty. I don't really want to say because I'm probably wrong, but I think they come in 2 packs and it's like $8 or $9.
Apparently they sell patty cakes too. Get it?
And Baker's Men as well. You can buy some of them. Last I checked.
$10 a patty cake. Okay. Well, that was a successful IPO.
Yeah.
And right now, Lyft was terrible apparently. Lyft was terrible, and Uber's come out now. They issued 180 million shares today at $45. So quick math would tell me that's a couple $1 billion they raised at least.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too is like Uber obviously is in the public consciousness big time. I use it all the time. I've known about it for years. Obviously, everybody has.
Yeah.
Beyond Meat, I didn't really start hearing about it.
But I don't think it's the same. Excuse me for interrupting, but it's big a company.
No, of course not. But it's in all the A&Ws and has been for a while. I just didn't really know about it.
You didn't know it by name.
No, but what got me to know about it was this whole build-up, and you could see it on Twitter and other places before the IPO.
Social media?
And then, boom, the IPO
What about
massive.
the beet juice thing? Have you gotten your head around that one?
I don't know.
You know what they're doing, eh? They're putting beet juice to look like blood
In the burger?
in the Beyond Meat burger, yeah.
They use yellow pea
beet-
protein as
Yellow beet juice. Oh, I see.
yellow pea.
That'll be appetizing.
No. The yellow pea, like pea protein. Not urine.
Pea from...
No.
Yellow.
They get the protein.
What kind of...
What kind of show is
Where
this?
did you come from?
Where's the... I know, kids, hide your kids, hide your
Okay.
wife. We're
Hide your kids. hide your-
we're going off the rails here. So no, well, we were just looking at it. Everyone, okay, fine,
You said
fine,
that like
fine.
you said that like you knew you were talking
This
about.
is the bed intruder. Everyone remembers this. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Okay. I don't just come up with this stuff.
No, you
Anyway, we can
right.
put Antoine Dodson to bed. So, yes. Sorry, fellas. Where are we going to next?
yeah.
To which? Oh. James spoke with Elsa Navarro, the skin unit director at Khiron Life Sciences, and here's that.
Khiron Life Sciences Corp is a Latin American-based pharmaceutical company that develops and commercializes medical cannabis products. Khiron has core operations in Colombia and is fully licensed in the country for the cultivation, production, domestic distribution, and international export of both THC and CBD medical cannabis. In May 2018, Khiron listed on the TSX Venture, becoming one of the first Colombian-based medical cannabis companies to trade on any exchange globally. Khiron Life Sciences Corp is listed on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol KHRN.
Elsa Navarro joins me now. She's the Skin Unit Director of Khiron Life Sciences, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol KHRN. Elsa, welcome.
Hi, James. So nice to say hi from Bogota.
Yeah, well, great to speak to you from Bogota. Elsa, you guys have been making some incredible progress with your skincare cosmeceutical line under the brand name Kuida, and you've just recently announced a new partnership with one of Colombia's top specialist beauty retailers. Can you tell us a bit about that, please?
Yeah, well, as you know, we started with Farmatodo as an exclusive agreement for the launch of the brand last October. And as you said, we just closed another deal with Fedco. Fedco is one of the largest and oldest specialized beauty care retailers here in Colombia. It's a really big step for us because it's a way to introduce CBD-based products to consumers.
Mm-hmm. And so, how many consumers for skincare products would there be just within Colombia, say?
Well, you know, we have a population of nearly 40 million inhabitants here in Colombia. We have a big opportunity, a big market, but we're not only considering right now Colombia as our backyard. We're considering Latin America, and we're considering a worldwide population. You know, the industry is considered to be $130 billion. So it's a big opportunity for us, not in Colombia, but in the world.
You bet. And so Fedco is in all major cities in Colombia, 22 stores?
22 stores in the biggest retailers, centers, and the biggest city in Colombia. That's right.
Okay. So tell me a bit about the products. What exactly is the product line entail?
Well, right now we have 7 references. We take care of body and face needs, focusing on a major claim that is the antioxidant action that we can provide through the synergy of regular cosmeceutical active ingredients and the CBD, of course, from cannabis. We have basic stuff. We have body lotion, we have a scrub that is our best seller so far. We have a body mist, and we have for body care moisturizer, day and night cream, eye contour, everything that a current consumer may need for basic beauty care.
And so tell me, what is the effect of CBD on the skin, for example, and skin health?
Well, what we can say right now through our products is that the CBDerm technology that we have created for Kuida is the synergy of CBD, giving a more antioxidant potent action than other active ingredients that we already know in the market. So if you talk about antioxidant action, you're talking about anti-aging, more elasticity into the skin that gives a more radiant look. And we add up with that with fast absorption formulation in order to be a really competitive product. Not only talking about CBD and cannabis, but being able to compete with other traditional brands.
You also introduced the product at an event in Bologna, Italy, did you not?
Yes, this was a great achievement for us. This is the biggest expo for beauty care in the world. They handpick the best brands around the world to showcase in this yearly event. We were the first Colombian company to be invited to the show. We were in this special exhibition area that is called the Extraordinary Gallery, and we were able to show our brand to the world.
Right. The ability to sell CBD-infused skin products around the world, it's not quite uniform yet, thanks to the way the laws are. So are there some countries you can sell it in now and some you can't, or do you have to just make adjustments to the formulation to accommodate the laws of different countries? How do you go about selling it globally right now?
Well, right now it's just being ready and understanding different regulations in order to get there as soon as we can. We have created formulations that are adaptable to most of the current regulations. But we're doing is to preparing the landscape to be ready to get as soon as possible to the different markets that are really moving rapidly in order to get a regulation that is really similar to the ones that we have in Colombia and Latin America. As you know, we already have permits with some of our products to enter Peru. So that has been a good trial run for us to understand different markets.
Wow, that's fantastic. Elsa, what other products do you envision creating for the cosmeceutical world in the years to come?
Well, we just signed also an agreement. It's the first agreement to do clinical trials with cannabis on skin. We did that with one of the biggest research hospitals here in Latin America, and that really opens our scope in order to create new products. Not only the cosmeceutical scope that we are right now, but also allow us to get into dermocosmetics, and maybe someday to treat pathologies or help pathologies into the skin.
That's interesting. Are there other companies that are doing this in Colombia at this point? Are you guys the first?
As we know, we're the only ones, not only in Colombia, but Latin American. This is the first, as I told you, the first agreement that is signed in the region in order to do clinical trials on skin.
And I see that you've also got an agreement with Grupo SACI Falabella. They're a Chilean company, are they not, that are basically have stores in every country in Latin America?
Well, we signed the deal with Linio, that is the online platform that they acquired last year. So that gives us an entry opportunity, not only to the e-commerce in Colombia, but also in Latin America as soon as regulation allows us to.
Is this skin products, like, is it something that you will see in like Vogue magazine at some point in the future?
I think we're going to see them really soon in that kind of publications. We work really close with influencers and regular people that want to get into a trend. The difference that we do here in Khiron through Kuida is not only using it as a trend, but also dignifying the active ingredient and looking it as a long-term relationship in order what we can create related to skincare.
And how have the events that you presented these products at, how are they being received by the clientele? How are the people who are trying them liking it?
Well, it's amazing because every time is a different experience. And what we have realized is the most important part of these events is to get like that one-to-one communication with the consumer. There's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of myths around cannabis and CBD. So it's great to get to talk to people directly, not only through regular advertisement channels. But to have that one-on-one is the thing that I think has allowed us to grow so rapidly.
Right. And is this something that will be available in the United States and Canada at any point?
Well, we're really hoping to get into the U.S. market really soon through our JV with Dixie Brands. So we're working that.
Wow, that's exciting. All right, Elsa, that's a great update. We're going to leave it there for now. We'll come back to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for your time. Nice to see you, James.
Bye for now. Enjoying the show, everybody? Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram.
Joining us now is Alan Brochstein of New Cannabis Ventures. Alan, how's it going?
It's going great. Good to be here.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for coming on. I just want to kick things off by maybe talking about trends that happen within the investing space. So we've, at first it was funded capacity, and now there's a bunch of talk about MSOs, multi-state operators, and extractions becoming much more of a focal point right now. In your view, how much does that drive actual investing?
Well, I think these things are important to watch. There's another trend right now that's front of mind for me, and that's all these shelf registrations that are open. We saw Charlotte's Web hit the market this week, CannTrust, I guess late last month. So there are a lot of these, and I think it pays for investors to pay attention to who has these shelves, because these companies are able to raise capital quickly. And over the last several years, there's been a little mini cycle in terms of capital raising. And what happens is the prices go up, a couple companies start to sell some stock, and eventually more and more pile on, and then the market gets saturated. And the last time we saw that was when a lot of the MSOs went public in the fourth quarter. But we're seeing it a little bit again. It's not so bad yet, but clearly, you look at the action in Charlotte's Web yesterday and CannTrust in late April, and you get the sense that there's some short-term downside to stocks when they come to market.
So can I ask is it just short-term? Because personally, when I saw the CannTrust raise, I think it was 30% lower than the share price was. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm a shareholder, I've lost a lot of trust moving forward. Like I don't know if I would feel comfortable investing, because maybe as soon as the stock starts to show some life, then boom, you get a raise way under what it could have been. That perhaps they could have done it not so aggressively.
Yeah, I think they really mishandled that. I've been and I remain a supporter of CannTrust, and
me too.
I'm not sure what happened there. That was a very big deal. They probably got some bad advice from Bay Street in Wall Street on that. I mean, that was Wall Street too. It was definitely a fail for the investment bankers. And, in hindsight, it was a very large transaction. Hopefully they deployed the capital smartly, because I think the good thing is a lot of companies come to market with little here and a little there, and they're always coming back. And those are the companies that I think hurt themselves by that frequency, as opposed to maybe CannTrust in the end will say, well, it was painful, but it was smart to get a one and done. I don't know if it was the smartest thing. Right now, it's not looking that smart, but hopefully eventually, because they shouldn't need to raise more capital. That was a lot.
Yeah. And speaking of cash, while we're on the subject, speaking a little bit off air about revenues and the correlation to market cap and so on, I mean, some of it is, we talked about Cronos has $6 billion market cap and $6 million in quarterly revenues, I believe, or something close to that. How do you evaluate a company beyond revenues? Because some of these numbers just seem so extreme. You have companies that aren't doing very well in the stock market, yet they seem to have really healthy revenues. So how do you account for that?
So I think revenue is an important thing to track. It's definitely something that we've been focused on at New Cannabis Ventures and with my subscribers at 420Investor. But it's not the only metric. And I'd like to give a really extreme example, because I used to cover I used to do healthcare and technology stocks in general as on the buy side for an investment management firm. And so as I covered technology companies, I kind of had to answer this question that you've just asked me. And so at one extreme, you have companies like Ingram Micro or Tech Data, nothing to do with cannabis, but these are companies that are distributors of IT. So it's a good way to kind of play the IT space. You're getting a lot of exposure through these names potentially, but they traded at really tiny multiples of their revenue, like less than 1 times, and really low PEs as well, by the way. And I'm going back in time. I haven't looked at these in years. But the idea was not all revenue is the same. You know, if you're a unique company with 80% gross margins and profits or really high growth, as opposed to a more mature company with low margins from distribution, like these two that I mentioned, these are different animals. So when you apply it to the cannabis space today, you know, it's amazing to me. We started this revenue tracker sometime, I think, in early 2018. It's become very popular, one of the most popular pages at New Cannabis Ventures. And we recently had to raise the standards. It was getting, the list was a little bit too long. So we doubled the minimum quarterly revenue required to qualify. And it's still a nice number of companies, with new companies joining really by the week, it seems. And, you know, as you track it, I think your observation is great. Some of these companies with a lot of revenue are doing kind of poorly in the market. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. And at the same time, some companies that really aren't there in terms of revenue, like you mentioned, Kronos Group, that are doing really well. And I would say, you know, one, keep in mind that you should always be looking forward. It's not about what you did for me today or yesterday. It's what are you going to do for me tomorrow? And that's the way people invest in stocks. So you take a story stock like Kronos, you know, with the ties to Altria and some, you know, the early biosynthesis play, that excites investors. And so it's a lot on the come as opposed to where they are right now. And, you know, you and I were talking about Tilt Holdings earlier is another example. There's one with a lot of revenue, certainly on a pro forma basis, that's not being perceived so well. But, I mean, look what's going on. It's a confusing story. The company admits that. It's a very complex story, number one. You've had some issues with, you know, anytime a company comes public and the stock's been cut in half, there's a question. And Tilt's not alone. There's some other new companies that are kind of suffering with that same scarlet letter, I guess, of trading well below the deal price. And believe me, they're not alone. And then you add to it, you know, some concerns about management. Their CEO stepped down. He's going to be chairman, but they made somebody else interim CEO, which, you know, that makes it sound like it wasn't so planned. So a lot of things to look at. And investors want to be, you know, confident in the future, and they need to understand the story. So whether or not it makes sense to buy Kronos or not to buy Tilt, like the market seems to be saying these days, I'm not going to answer that one. I don't have a great answer necessarily. I think I have an answer, but that's not the important thing. I think the important thing is to understand revenue in and of itself isn't the sole criterion.
No, yeah, for sure. It does make me feel more comfortable, though, that a company is able to generate revenue, like in big numbers, for sure, because then you look to the future and think, well, they can. There's room for more, right? So I love that list, by the way. The revenue list that you guys put together. It's great because all the big names are sort of, well, actually, it's not. What I love most about it is it's sort of shocking. You know, you have a perception about how big some of these companies are, and then you see the list and you're like, wow, it at least helps you shift your perspective a little bit. So, like,
some of the market caps are way bigger than the revenue. But I think what's interesting is some of the companies, you know, unfortunately we lost some of the companies when we raised the standards from $2.5 million to $5 million US. But, you know, take for example, MediPharm Labs, which is a client of mine at New Cannabis Ventures, by the way. They weren't on this list until just a few weeks ago when they reported their fourth quarter. And now, if you look in the Canadian section, I think they're number 4, which just blows me away. Not just them that they blow me away, but the idea that, you know, anybody that was kind of paying attention to this saw them come on, and then now they more than doubled their revenue just a quarter later. And it just kind of shows you how quickly things change. You know, I would say your observation about revenue is a very fair one. There were a bunch of companies that received licenses from Health Canada in 2013, and some of them, we don't have to name names. Some of them are just, not. I think Midas makes more money than they do, so more revenue. So, it says a lot to me, and I don't want to be hypercritical of a company like Cronos. I mean, at least they have some revenue now, but the fact that they've had that license for so long and the revenue is so low, it should make investors ask a question. I think it's a fair question.
I agree, and that actually brings us perfectly to perhaps some of the, well, not excuses, but some of the reasons some of the numbers aren't as high as we might think they could be, which is the Canadian retail space, which, from my perspective, especially in Ontario, is just, it's tough. I mean, there's bottlenecks. It's weird. It's I can see why it's hard for companies to make a lot of cash quickly. At least it's definitely a process. Yeah. So the Canadian rollout of recreational or adult use has been nothing short of a disaster. And I was talking about this in advance. I didn't think it would be even as bad as it is, but to Canada's credit, they have a federally legal program, and then it's pretty easy to get negative after giving a lot of credit for that. And without getting overly negative, because things will get better, I think part of the problem was, for those that remember, it was like a cliffhanger to watch the process. In the second reading of the Cannabis Act, it seemed like it was going to fail. And I think that put the fear of God in a lot of the LPs. The check writers, do they really want to commit to building that extra infrastructure when it's not a done deal yet? So when we got to the third reading, it passed, but unfortunately the transition period from legalization from that point was just a few months, and it really didn't give the LPs a chance to get ready to ramp up. So you had that short process. And then everybody's familiar with some of the other problems, like, it's flower only for the most part, and, limited amount of extracts, but certainly not the popular products that the black market certainly enjoys, or that a lot of markets in the United States where it's state legal enjoy. So that's a problem. But I think the real problem is the provincial distribution just isn't that good. Expecting the black market buyer to buy on the Ontario website is insane. That's not happening. And then expecting a new type of customer to buy on these websites is also not very realistic. I think websites are great for people who know what they want and want convenience and all that, but we're talking about educating the market. And so I know I've talked to James about this in the past. I'm very bullish on the retailers, and this is a space that's not widely followed. There's a lot of focus on the LPs, but a tremendous amount of value will be created, in my opinion, by the retail companies. And the LPs kind of got shut out of this. It's very difficult to have your own point of sale, your retail point of sale, if you're an LP. You can, obviously direct to patient through the medical program, but it's very limited. You can own pieces of larger companies, or there are certain provinces where you might be able to have a store. But this is something that's really not so open to the LPs at this point in time. And if you listen to people in the United States, I like to listen to these CEOs, they talk about the real value is being in brands and distribution and retail. And so in Canada, the retail part is right now, for the most part, left to the provincial websites, which are terrible. Now, I was very fortunate to be able to be in Toronto on April 20th and go check out the Nova Cannabis store that opened that day. That's Alcanna. And I've talked about Alcanna before. I continue to like that story a lot, and suggest that people that want to look at the space consider not only that company, there's a handful of others as well, without getting into all the details. But these companies right now are struggling with the numbers. They have good numbers, but they'd be much higher if they had better inventory, number one. And number two, if they could open more stores. It's very limited right now. So I said earlier, you got to look not what you're doing for me yesterday or today, but what are you going to be doing tomorrow? And I imagine over time, these retailers will finally get into a position
Everybody talks about oversupply coming, and it's not coming tomorrow, but we will get to a very healthily supplied market, a market that has more than just flower, pre-rolls, and these weak extracts that will include vape pens and edibles and things like that later this year. And in Canada, where the advertising and packaging rules are so rigid, I think retail is going to play an extremely valuable role. So I would suggest to your listeners that start to focus on this. I have a few names in my model portfolios at 420Investor, and it's a little early maybe, but I think you're better off being early than late on this theme.
No, I agree. So, and I'll definitely want to check out some of those names. But to me, in Canada, we all know the power of brands. It's been proven time and time again. And unfortunately, and hopefully those retail players can put some pressure on the government and say, hey, look, we need to be able to show the personalities of our different products, number one. Number two, and you just tell me what you think about this, but I think it's unfortunate that the way it works when you sell your product to the government, they're bidding on a certain price. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I have some dry bud that's 3 times as good as your dry bud. I can't even put it out there to sell it for twice as much because they're not going to pay.
I think you can actually. They have different categories of product, and I forget exactly the jargon that they use, and it's obviously going to vary from province to province, but some of the LPs have gotten in the premium category. So
for sure. But I think you're just handcuffed in terms of what the government is going to bid for it. You can't tell them this is worth a certain amount, and then they agree. They say no. The most we're going to pay is $6, and that's the end of the conversation, right? So
I think you have a point that unfortunately. You're limited as a retailer in terms of your buying power and things like that. All the buying power is really at the provincial level.
Yeah. So, but
that hurts the LPs too, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, and I think, as you said, there's a lot of room for things to get better as we move forward, as they can't really get too much worse. But thanks for this, Alan. It's always awesome listening to your thoughts on the space, and
thank you.
We really appreciate it.
All right. Have a great weekend.
You too.
If you like the show, you'll love our website. Visit us at www.midasletter.com for interviews with key CEOs, cannabis news, and to subscribe to our newsletter.
Ed, can you do me a favor right now?
Yes.
Can you spell silk 3 times?
Spell silk?
Yes.
S-I-L-K, S-I-L-K, S-I-L-K.
Now let me ask you, what do cows drink? You're smarter than I am, because Suzanne, who's sitting over there,
I think I've heard it 4 times today.
Yeah. Oh, did you already blow it? So you got me to ask this on,
me.
Oh my God. So
but I was going to go along with it.
No.
But you know what? No, I won't even look silly for you.
See, yeah, but that's not fair. Suzanne was like, "Oh, do this to Ed. Oh, he's gonna." No, and
No,
you blew it.
He was sitting right there when I did the
anyway,
joke to you.
I know. Where was he?
Who's the dummy?
Looking at some of the comments here, and I wanted to single out Papa Papist. You were talking about Raphael Mechelen and the CBDs and so on, how there's an entourage effect. And yeah, I mean, he's right. I've spoken directly to Professor Raphael Mechelen, and he's going to be in our feature-length doc that's probably 85-90% shot. And he was awesome, and Tel Aviv is awesome, but he's the guy who he discovered THC in that he's the first person to identify it chemically.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything.
Well, no, not right now. As soon as you're done.
Okay, so he identified THC as a molecule, and then he's the one who's going through all of the different CBDs, the cannabidiol differences, and there's over 110 or 120. And that's what Papa Papist is talking about.
I can't believe this is happening.
No, well, there's studies where this is the easiest way to explain it. Somebody has seizures. They were given CBD oil.
Right.
No seizures. Okay. Then
no CBD oil.
No seizures. So they have seizures. They're given CBD oil, no seizures.
Then what?
Okay.
Then
No,
nothing?
listen. Then the clinical trial supply changed strains, seizures. The clinical trial people realized that there was a different strain. They say, oh, well, maybe that matters. We're going to go back to the first one. No seizures. So it's almost a happy accident that they started with the first strain, because if they started with the second one, they would have said this doesn't work. So we know that it works, especially certain strains have very dramatic impacts on human
Certain
health.
strains.
Absolutely.
So if it grows in my backyard,
just fucking
maybe I
avoid
got
it like a
special
plague.
manure. I got special manure, right?
Well, that'll be the next craze. It'll be.
So what is it? What is?
All the
where's
LPs
the,
will be. What you got? Good shit.
Yeah. Where's your active
Ed, you got good
ingredient?
shit?
What, I want to know what's in your active ingredient here.
You
Which-
got the good shit.
I got the good shit.
Yeah. So.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Why do they call it manure? Why don't they just call it shit?
Well,
That's what I want to know.
Ed wants to know. Suzanne, can you help us out? Can you Google that, please? So.
Okay, fine.
I agree. Fine. I just wanted to quickly look
Can
at.
a guy get himself in trouble in Tel Aviv in a bar late at night? Just wondering.
They don't close, so you could actually go 24/7 if you're so inclined.
They don't close.
That's right. So you could, well, some of them do and some of them don't, but there's no rule, like, there's no drinking past 2 a.m., Ed. You could just keep going and people are really casual about it.
Why are you throwing my name at the end of it? Like, do you think people have said to me...
you're the one that I see being in these bars until 5 in the morning.
Okay.
So. Yeah. So I was just quickly taking a peek at the winners and losers today. It's sort of...
Mixed bag?
Mixed bag, but pretty decent percentage changes, like for larger companies. So, for example, I was talking with Alan Brochstein about CannTrust, and they seem to have rebounded almost 5%. Kronos is up 6.5%. So that's pretty significant. It seems overall like it's a decent day out there for some of these stocks.
Got a nice little action here on the Horizons
ETF, yeah.
ETF. Yeah, it's up 1.5%.
Which is a bigger move than
1%.
Yeah, it's a bigger move than 1%. But I mean, in an ETF like that, where you have a lot of names, that's a big. That's a fairly.
Yeah. Well, you really can't see, like, if you're looking at this over the last 3 months, you're saying, well, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's nothing here to really get you.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
All right.
So up next, Ricky, our dear Ricky, spoke to Dan Anglin, CEO of CannAmerica Brands Corp, and here's that interview right now.
CannAmerica Brands Corp is a portfolio of cannabis brands with licensing agreements in the states of Colorado, Nevada, and Maryland. The company markets their brands through various distribution channels, including dispensaries, wholesalers, and distributors in the United States and internationally. The company has 52 million shares outstanding, with management ownership sitting at 10%. CannAmerica Brands Corp is listed on the CSE under the ticker symbol CANA. I'm joined now via Skype by Dan Anglin. He's the CEO of CannAmerica Brands, and he joins us from Denver, Colorado. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me on Midas Letter. I'm excited to be here.
So I understand you're a former Marine. So tell us a little bit about how you find yourself in the cannabis space now.
I served in the Marine Corps from 1988 to 1992, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I got into the cannabis space in 2011. In fact, I was part of the team that got the very first cannabis license in the world. Our license was 00001, and it was the first to be issued. So I've been involved in the industry from the beginning of the regulated space, and CannAmerica Brands is, where we've gone in the last 9 years, from operating in cultivation and manufacturing and retail to what we've done now, which is an intellectual property company that licenses our brand to operators for a royalty.
So Dan, tell us a little bit about CannAmerica Brands and what you do.
CannAmerica Brands was formed out of Americana, which is a brand that started in 2015 in Colorado, in gummies and other types of concentrate-based products in the regulated cannabis market in Colorado. When we decided to expand outside of Colorado, it became very clear that we needed something a little bit outside of the box. So we created an intellectual property company that allows operators in other markets to be able to license our intellectual property, our techniques, our equipment, our supply chain, and our packaging. So we take a royalty fee with our partners in the 3 states that we're in right now for every unit that is sold in that market. It's a very turnkey situation for operators, and it's worked out very well for us. Our focus in the cannabis space is to expand into every market, whether or not it's a confection allowable market, meaning edibles. We've got products that fall into every category.
Okay, and I understand you're in Maryland, Colorado, and Nevada. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and are you expanding to any other states at this point?
Yeah, we are actively engaged in a discussion for a deal in Massachusetts, which is a recreational state with limited licensing. So we're very excited about that. Our brand is based on, my experience as a veteran and really kind of capturing that feeling of the freedom of expanding the legality of marijuana across North America and the world, and it's very well received by consumers. We expect great things to happen in Massachusetts. We also have a LOI. We're doing the due diligence in the state of Oklahoma, and we've targeted Michigan, Illinois, California, Washington, and Oregon as potential states for 2019 into 2020.
Okay, and I understand you also have an LOI with Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's the other side of our business. So we've created another division called Hemp America, and information, is coming out slowly as we build this. But Hemp America has developed a beverage line that we expect to begin distributing this quarter, hopefully as soon as the end of May, into major retailers across North America. What we're also doing is working with Cerecea in Mexico, which is a group that is expected to get a hemp processing license as well as potentially a cannabis license, to work with them in Baja California on large-scale extraction of raw material of hemp into crude oil, distillate, and isolate. Additionally, we've done an LOI with a company in the United Kingdom for distribution of finished product brands. And that deal looks really similar to our cannabis licensing deals. We're going to provide them with products and packaging and marketing for hemp-based products into Europe. Finally, in the hemp space, we've also signed a deal and formed a JV with Invictus MD, which is on the CSE as GENE, Gene. That's a company that Gene Simmons is involved in. And they recently made an announcement on Gene's brand of sodas, Rockstar sodas. So we think it's very important for us to continue to create these types of relationships. And although these LOIs have just all been extended, it's primarily due to reviewing regulation and ensuring that the business model that we've created will be allowable in those countries and states that we're working on with hemp.
Okay, so you really have your hand in a lot of different cannabis products, from what I understand, right? You have flower, dried flower, you have edibles, CBD, hemp, oils. Am I missing anything?
So I used to do flower many years ago, but when we created CannAmerica Brands, this is all oil-based products, finished products. Yeah, in the U.S., flower was not really something that could be branded, right? There's a lot of complexities to it. There's a lot of ownership concerns of the creation of the strain. And so we basically focused our energy back in 2013 on perfecting the oil extraction process and creating products that consumers would like. And then in 2015, we launched Americana, which became CannAmerica in 2017. So we've got a long history of this, and I think what's really important for investors to understand is, our position in the industry is one of consumer confidence because we've been doing this for so long. And I think the industry has also responded very well to our brand. Earlier this year, I was named as High Times top 100 influencers in the industry. I've also, besides been developing products, been involved in legislation. Prior to getting into the cannabis industry, I was a legislative analyst and a lobbyist for the state's Chamber of Commerce here in Colorado on other issues like firearms and manufacturing in general. So our understanding of the legislative landscape, the way that the plants creating products and creating brands that consumers can really connect with and trust and have that confidence in the brand has been successful. I think our first foray into licensing outside of Colorado was Nevada, and we chose Nevada because of the high tourism numbers. Currently it's about 45 million a year that visit Las Vegas. And with the NFL building an arena in the city of Las Vegas, that's going to reach somewhere around 60 million annually. So we know that those visitors enjoy many different activities, including consuming cannabis. So what it's done is it has exposed the brand to the world. And I think, what's important about being on Midas Letter, in fact, I've had many investors and shareholders tell me that I needed to come and talk to you because they watch your program so much. I think the concern that we have is that the company is not that well known in the market. And so we've been doing roadshows in Toronto. We've been doing roadshows in New York because we're also listed on the OTC as CNNXF. Okay. So it's very important for us to connect with the investor community, explain the business model, have them meet management, understand what we're doing. And then, of course, on our website, CannAmericaBrands.com, they can learn more about the company. And then at CannAmericaCO.com, they can learn more about our product line.
Okay. And for investors that are interested in investing in your company, how many shares are currently outstanding?
So we have 52 million total shares. I think the float on that is somewhere around 16 million. At any given time, we have excellent volume happening some weeks and slow volume other weeks. And I think those slow volume days are just based on the fact that we're a micro cap, small cap company, and people are just now learning about us. We went on the CSE the day before legalization in Canada. So October 17th was when we went live, and we're now 6 months into being a publicly traded company. Our end of year just ended March 31st, and our financials will be out sometime in June for review. And we anticipate that as people learn about the fact that our overhead is low because we're not an operator, we don't touch the plant, and our margins are high. We have right now a margin of 67% because we really don't have the operational costs as a typical cannabis company. We're a cannabis brand, not a cannabis operator. So we don't have all the cannabis taxes. We don't have all the cannabis fees and the enormous salaries. This is managed very lean, basically because we're a supply chain company that manages the marketing.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing more about your company, and good luck.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be on Midas Letter, and just know that folks are watching you all the time, and I really got a lot of requests for me to get onto this show, so thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
everybody. Welcome back. I noticed, actually, I neglected to mention James is in Peru right now working on a cannabis deal, and he's wheeling and dealing. And
Yeah.
so that's where he is. That's why I'm here.
Where are you here or are you there?
I'm in another dimension, actually. And yeah, I was just telling Carl in the chat that we are doing a feature-length documentary on cannabis, and it's pretty exciting. I've mentioned it before on the show, but yeah.
Is this an epic? Is it a?
Well, we went into production last year, and we've talked to some really interesting people. We talked to Ricky Williams, who I watched play in the NFL, and he's got a really cool story.
Yeah. What's the golfer's name? Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
You should talk to him.
Why, does he smoke pot?
Oh, his name's Ricky.
Oh, well, I could tell. Well, we have a Ricky right here. I don't need to. I don't need to go anywhere. So, no, we talked to Melissa Etheridge, and that was really cool. So, we've got a lot more surprises on that front. But no, that's I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a long time in production, so you're losing it, man. You're laughing at your own jokes so hard that.
Stop.
Yeah, just saying. So what do we want to do here?
What do we want to do? We want to make some money. That's what we want to do, but I don't think that's going to happen.
You know what? I think it's getting, I don't know how the people watching the show feel, but I feel like it's getting, in the cannabis space, harder and harder and harder to make money.
Well, let me just tell you something here, okay? Like a lot of the money's been made.
Yeah.
It's getting tougher. The movements are less and less. Now, I think the next big move that would sort of confirm that would be a big move to the downside. A big move to the upside would keep everybody okay. Where it's okay. But if a big move to the downside, people go, what?
You know what's hard for me to accept is that at the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018 is when a lot of the companies had their all-time highs.
Yeah.
And, as a more of a novice, I felt like over time that those would go away and there'd be new highs. But for a lot of companies, that's still the all-time high, and it might be forever the all-time high.
Yeah,
because some of these guys are going to fail.
Yeah, well, they're not going to make any money.
They're not going to. Well, they're not going to. They're going to fail. They're going to get.
You want
bought
to be
out.
companies that are building, doing the right things. Maybe their stock isn't showing it now.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll show it later.
Well, show me.
Show
This
me.
is the show me league.
Right.
So.
Well, look at flour. I see flour going by here today up 46 cents. What's that about? That's about 8%.
And right next to it, fire. I remember thinking, man, they're going to be huge, and maybe they still would be, but their all-time high is like 327, I think, and they've been hovering around that $2 range or below it even for like 6 months or something. So it is a very tough.
Look at this, yeah.
Game. These guys.
Well, now that's a big move. Now look, you mentioned fire immediately.
Yeah.
Snoopy on the prowl here.
Yeah.
Get it? Snoopy on the prowl.
I think I get it.
Yeah. And so here's the chart. And
was I wrong about their high? Yeah.
Well, well, you're not that far away.
Wait a
minute. Oh.
No, there it is. See that?
Yeah.
That
2018, January.
Yeah, those were the good times. That's when you
18,
could be,
not 19. That's over a year ago.
Yeah. And, I don't want to talk about my trading too much because it's really, I'm more of a filmmaker.
Would you say when you trade, you're in this, or you're in this, are you prior to the move or a little late?
Well, I had a bunch of stuff before that move.
Yeah.
But my thing is once it went to the downside, I thought it was just temporary, so I held on to a bunch of stuff. I remember one day looking at my, amateur hour portfolio, and across the board,
Your amateur hour movies that you have at home?
No, I looked at my unrealized gains, and it was at 81% or something like that, which dwindled. I didn't cash out like,
Yeah.
I've learned some things since then just being around you guys.
So your kids getting jobs? Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly. There's no free ride.
What do kids do when they're under the age of 6? Like, how do you get them gainfully employed?
I don't know. I think you might have to move to Southeast Asia or something. I don't know. Or maybe, actually, there's some alleyways I saw in LA where you could probably get away with that type of nonsense. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, well, you don't want to blow the tuition on your sort of notions of what the world's going to do in the marijuana sector.
Yeah, marijuana.
Yeah, that was quite the move. It looks harder and harder all the time. More guys coming in, more deals mean, oh my God, where do I focus?
There's way more companies, and then you see
competing for your money, your hard-earned money.
Yeah, and you see some companies pop out of nowhere, and it's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. You have, it's tough. It's obviously it's not easy. There's still, you could easily join the club of losing money right now if you just walked in and started picking names.
Join the club of losing money.
Yeah.
I want to try to stay away from that club. I was a founding member of that club years ago.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
The
markets, yeah, they're closed.
So you know what? We should watch you do an interview, which we're going to watch right now because you spoke with the CEO of Pelangio Exploration Brands earlier in the week, and let's have a look at that.
Pelangio Exploration Inc. is a mineral exploration company that acquires and explores large land packages in world-class gold belts in both Canada and West Africa, with a strategy designed to capitalize upon acquisition opportunities arising during bear markets and wealth creation occurring during bull markets. In Canada, the company is focusing on 2 properties in Timmins and another property located in the Red Lake Mining District. In Ghana, the company is focusing on 2 100% owned camp-sized properties. Pelangio Exploration Inc. has 38 million shares outstanding, with management and insider ownership sitting at 15%. Pelangio Exploration Inc. is listed on the TSX Venture and trades under the ticker symbol PX.
Joining me now, we have Ingrid Hibbard, who's the CEO of Pelangio Exploration.
Exactly.
And you're no stranger to the mining industry. Ingrid, your dad founded basically what was eventually Detour Mines, right?
When they first found the Detour Mine, my dad staked everything around it. And then when he passed away in 1996, and somehow I found myself CEO of a junior mining company.
Pelangio Mines ultimately sold the Detour property. You then got a bunch of cash and some shares in another company, and you basically dividended those out.
In 1996, we had a piece of property beside the mine that we still had from when my dad staked it all in the 70s. And we realized that they were closing the mine and it was up for sale. So we were able to buy the mine with still 1.5 million ounce resource and 52 square miles around it, underexplored on the Abitibi Greenstone Belt.
Prime location.
Prime location for $1.5 million.
Wow.
Less than $1 an ounce in the ground.
You want to talk about how cheap things are then, or now? They're just as cheap then.
Yep. So we were able to acquire it, except we didn't have any money. Well, we had about, I don't know, $2,000 in the bank, and we decided we'd like to buy the mine. So David Harkwell at Franco Nevada helped us out with that. Yeah. And so that's how they ended up with the royalty. And then, fast forward a decade, and we sold it to a spin-out company, Detour Gold. So it IPO'd on it, and post-IPO, we owned 50% of the stock. Which was 20 million shares. Right. And then after a few years, those shares ended up, series of corporate transactions, but let's keep it simple. Those shares ended up in our shareholders' hands. So for the patient shareholders, it was a 100-bagger.
It was unbelievable.
Having watched my father do it and then me, I believe in the cycles. Yeah. Like it's all about playing the cycles.
You got land in Timmins?
Yes.
And you recently acquired land. Yeah. You got another major position of land in Ghana, in a proven area.
It's 284 square kilometers.
And what did you say you had back in the Detour area? You had 52 square.
Yeah. So we've got 2 land packages in Timmins that, kind of pinch me now because I wouldn't have thought you could get them. So this is called Dome West. So we acquired it in January.
This is the same dome as, remember we had Dome Mines, right?
That's where we're next door. The land package that we've got has not had any real exploration since the 1940s. So we just did a 550-meter hole there. So what we're drilling to find here is really to orient ourselves, let's be honest. I don't expect one hole to find us a mine. This one hole, which is almost vertical, is just looking to locate that porphyry, get a look at what's there. I'm convinced we're going to be back there in January preparing for it, and we're going to be doing a lot more work. It's only 550 meters. We've completed the drilling. They're logging the core now, and it'll be out for assay in a couple weeks. And
so you'll get results here in what, in 3-4 weeks?
Probably.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
There's another target in the middle of the property from government reports where there was an adit, a shaft, and some surface quartz veins. So once the snow's gone, we're going to go in and take a quick look at that. Then we'll, see what else we can find, put together the program plan for next winter. So that's Dome West. The other recent acquisition is the Dalton property, which is a little bit bigger. It's 1.5 kilometers from the Hollinger. We're going to be drilling there this summer, putting in a couple holes at Dalton this summer.
Okay.
The other thing we've got in Ontario, which is not new, but it's given the Great Bear discovery, people are a little more excited about it. It's
Right.
a property we've had for a long time, 25 square kilometer land package, and we had it farmed out back when people were working, 8-10 years ago, and they got 34 grams over 10 meters.
Let's talk about Western Africa.
So in West Africa, after Detour, we were looking for another. That worked. So, something works, I got to try the same again. So I said, okay, it works to get a big land package where there's been a big producer.
Right.
Except that's really hard to do. It's kind of the thing. So coming from kind of a mining family helps you a little bit. So my uncle was a little familiar with Ghana. I had only ever worked in Canada. And so he comes and says, I think I can get you this great land package in Ghana beside the Obuasi mine. Now, this is embarrassing, but at the time I went, Obuasi mine? And he says, yes, okay, this is the Obuasi mine. It's produced 35 million ounces.
Over what time frame?
For 100 years.
Wow.
In the first 30 years, from 1897 on, the produced grade, now imagine how much goes out in tails 100 years ago, the produced grade was over 1 ounce per ton.
High grade.
Right? It's awesome. So we were able to acquire 284 square kilometers on strike with that, with virtually no exploration. Unbelievable to me. Like coming from the Timmins camp, that would be like buying everything on the Dester Porcupine Fault beside the Hollinger, only this thing is bigger than the Hollinger, and nobody had explored it. It was a tremendous opportunity.
Is this the kind of project that you might need a joint venture partner?
100%. At the right time. And
So you're not spending a lot of money right now because right now nobody cares.
It's all about preparing for the future. Yeah. But I think the future. So 6 years ago, the future looked farther away.
Right.
I think we're at the very beginning, and that's why these acquisitions in Timmins. I think we're coming into a better market, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a light switch.
How many shares are in PX?
There's 38 million shares.
38 million shares trading at. So you're capped at $6-7 million bucks.
Craziness.
I know.
Because the other project we have in Ghana is 100 square kilometers. It's 14 kilometers from Nuance Ahafo, which is a 20 million ounce mine, and 50 kilometers from Kinross's Chirano. 100 square kilometers. We started exploring along a 9-kilometer geochemical trend. We made 7 discoveries. We've got a maiden resource on 3 of them. 300,000 ounces in the indicated category and 200,000 in the inferred category. So, it's we're going to need some help, but the opportunities were too good to pass up. And I've been looking for a long time to get back into. I grew up in Timmins. Ask me if I want to work back in Timmins. It's a great spot to be. The other thing we did is we acquired a private project generator, closed in December. So that gives us kind of 8 project generator projects, so most of which are farmed out. And it's Kevin Philo who was running it. Kevin was my partner when we did the Detour stuff. And he's lived in Timmins all his life. So he, who lives in Timmins, keeps his ear to the ground, has worked in the mines. He's running those projects. So on the Ontario side, Kevin and I are back working together. And on the Ghana side, Warren Bates is doing it, and we have a great guy on the ground who's got a geological engineering degree and an MBA from Freiburg, Germany, who runs the projects.
You got great land. I mean, the idea is to have the land when it's time, and if the market starts to move, it gets easier to raise money. Ingrid, we're going to have to leave it there. Great to have you. So you got Ghana, you got Ontario, you got a good structure, you got lots of experience.
Yep.
And you've drilled a hole.
People, product, and price.
Okay. Well, look, we're going to come back. We're going to come back. We're going to update.
That's great. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ingrid.
If you're enjoying the show, subscribe to Midas Letter on YouTube so you stay up to date on everything investment.
Yes. All you got to do is drill a hole, Ed. Just drill it.
You know what Mark Twain said?
I know he said a few things.
But the definition of a mine?
Yeah.
A hole in the ground with a liar on top.
Oh. Yeah.
That's our beloved Mark Twain, American literature.
Did you know Mark Twain is a pseudonym? But it's the only pseudonym that has meaning attached to it.
The only one. There are no other pseudonym names.
Well, otherwise they're an alias, but I think the definition of pseudonym, and I'm going to look really dumb if I'm wrong here, is that they don't have meaning.
Jeez, I
think a pen name of Mark Twain is to tell how deep the river was.
To tell how deep the river was?
Yeah, his real name was Samuel Clemens. You know that?
Mark Twain?
Yeah. It's a pseudonym.
Mark Twain.
Yeah, his real name is Samuel Clemens.
And how deep is the river after all?
It depends where you are.
What are you talking about, the river?
Mark Twain was something that you would say it's a nautical expression.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't believe me?
I knew that.
So with mining, though, it's a tough go right
tough
now.
Racket.
Yeah,
Tough racket.
you put out even good news, and people just sell it. They don't even care.
I've had a couple guys that are really experienced in mining say if they'd have known what they knew going into mining, they would have went into oil and gas, because the lead time to get cash from a mine, like let's say discovery, we're talking 10 years now.
Yeah.
10 years, like.
Yeah.
To a guy like me who maybe only has 40, 50 years left.
Yeah. You need to do those blood transfusions.
Yeah, so maybe, the marijuana, like everybody wants that. We live in a world where everybody wants instant gratification.
Yeah.
You go to a bar, you meet. Never mind, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what you're saying though too is like, at some point it's undeniable. Like you can't stop it once the price of metals gets higher. Like at some point there'll be another cycle, and people will make a pile of money.
Yeah.
On
The
it.
cure for low commodity prices is low commodity prices.
Right.
And that the longer this gets prolonged, the worse it's going to get in the next cycle.
Like the better it is, because it's going to.
Well, depending on who you are. If you need copper, it's going to be worse. If you produce copper, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So it's sure there are cycles, and but when a bubble bursts, it usually lasts for a long time. Like Japan peaked in the 80s. Steve Meisner and I talked about that in the last time he was on. Bubbles blow.
I peaked in the 80s too.
You peaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm totally disgusted or totally out of it. The mining sector I'm out of favor with the mining sector, and I was in favor, thinking I'll get in now. This is a good time. A year and a half ago, I started buying Crown, and I still believe in copper, but
you got to wait. Yeah. You have to wait.
Yawn.
Your money's tied up. What? And you have to wait.
Makes me want to get off the wagon or get on the wagon.
Yeah.
Off the wagon.
Like to drink or to invest in other stuff, or both.
So what do you think about the mining thing? I mean, you're a young man, you got a young family, you got to think of. I haven't got the time. It takes too long.
Just based on the people that have come in here, when I see really low prices, I put just a tiny bit of money in some of them. And just with the knowledge that, it could sit there for 5 years, and it's not a lot of money. Like, I can totally see how someone could get really ramped up, fired up about a mining stock, put a bunch of money in, and then realize they're stuck with it there and can't.
Yeah.
you know, and maybe have to sell it for a loss because it's taking longer than they thought, whatever. So anyway.
But I do think one thing, just in closing on this mining thing, it really can't get going until mining, the metals themselves really start to get lit up.
Yeah.
If they get lit up,
they can get lit. Lit,
baby.
Speaking of lit, we're going to bring it back to cannabis. I happen to enter the grounds of James E. Wagner Cultivation, Phase 2, I believe, if that's what they're calling it.
That's where they give you the free samples.
Well, actually, they gave me some swag, which I was happy about. I don't know if I'm allowed to, well, of course I am. But, you know, I've got actually a free T-shirt, a hoodie, from different companies, so it's good that way. At least I know I have clothing.
Well, you're opening up a store, right, with paraphernalia and stuff, and you're selling. You're doing quite well, apparently.
Oh, I don't know about that. But
sure.
No, just to tee this up, we went, and the focus was we wanted to take a deeper look at JWC's methods and where they're kind of at with their expansion. So here's that.
James E. Wagner Cultivation is a licensed producer of cannabis in Canada with operations based in Kitchener, Ontario. The company uses an advanced and proprietary aeroponic platform named GrowthSTORM. GrowthSTORM is designed to achieve a balance of air and water at the root zone and a more controlled delivery of nutrients to improve the plant's health. This proprietary system is designed to eliminate all contaminants from the cultivation facility, allowing for a controlled growth environment to provide clean and consistent cannabis every life cycle. James E. Wagner Cultivation trades on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol JWCA.
We learned very early on that efficiency is not always about speed. Sometimes the best way to win a race is slow and steady. We want to produce tall buds that look the same, smell the same, feel the same, and have the same amount of active components to a very narrow degree. The degree of standardization that we can achieve with this system is proof that we have discovered a way to control the total plant growth cycle. We've created a high-density, low-cost system which results in a 98% success rate after 11 to 14 days. GrowthSTORM is a multi-part process constructed around the core technology of aeroponics, but opportunistically using a wide variety of hydroponic techniques and advances in order to achieve the most optimized outcome possible. We're able to fit over 50 clones per square foot, meaning that this area here will allow us to clone all of the thousands of plants required to fill the full Phase 2 area of our facility, which is almost 50,000 square feet of flowering space. Once the plant is fully rooted, it's moved to one of our special GrowthSTORM baskets that gives the root mass the ability to form a complex array of roots all the way around. Now, this basket is one that has been engineered specifically for cannabis, and it is one of the GrowthSTORM specific pieces. It remains in this material for its life cycle. Once the plants have reached their full production size, they're promoted into the low-density array. This is the system that they will inhabit until they are completed the flowering cycle. The dual droplet system, our newest adaptation, distributes a large droplet with a complex nutrient solution and a very small droplet at about 10 microns with a narrow band nutrient solution. These two droplet sizes in combination create an averaging effect which optimizes the delivery of nutrients and the uptake through the root system itself. The last step that the plants must undergo before entering the flowering room is an intensive screen training. What we do is we bend a branch like this and we create a curve so that that apical branch comes out to here. And from here on out, one day after training, this plant is a flat-trained plant. This allows us to standardize the yield per square foot and optimize the bud morphology and the quality of the final product.
Nathan, I've noticed that your system
is extremely automated, which suggests there must be a heavy IT component to this whole operation.
We're a tech company, and of course, in the modern world, any good technology requires a robust software in order to back it up. Every transaction that occurs with a plant, every sanitation activity, every compliance-related access activity, all of it goes through the GrowthSTORM management software. This is our state-of-the-art, custom-built flowering room area. There are 8 grow rooms in this area, each one capable of producing between 30 and 50 kilos per cycle. We have less than 1% crop loss, which means that every room like this, we are about 50-50 to lose 1 plant in this room. Right now, at this facility, we have 29 strains in-house. We went through an intensive selection process. We came out of the process with 4 unique phenotypes. And all 4 of these bear the GE marker, which means that they will only ever be grown in the GrowthSTORM equipment. By the end of 2020, I hope to have about 50 strains in production. We standardize yield, we standardize quality, we standardize medicinal content. And that can only be achieved when you do have complete control over the entirety of that system.
Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you more or less delivered on.
Here are the headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents,
and I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really.
Recreational cannabis is here. It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits.
So that's JWCA. I hope you guys like that. I believe we put that on the website, so that can be seen as its own thing. But what I thought it was, so Nathan is like
he knows everything about marijuana.
Oh yeah, and when you're in the same room as him, you feel like the less smarter guy in the room.
You feel?
Yeah. Like
does that happen to you a lot?
Not as much as you might think. But
I'm
no,
sorry,
you know what
was
you know what was cool.
You set yourself up for that.
I know, but you know what was good about their company is that less than 1% crop loss. So I don't really know what the other LPs, what their numbers are.
Well, there was a rumor that one of the big ones had a whole plant.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So what Nathan was saying, in one grow room, they might have one plant that doesn't work, or every 2. Anyway, it's a very good number to have, because I know there's some LPs, and again, I don't know specifics, but they've had, crop losses is in over 1%. It can be like 5 and 6% and maybe higher. It's sort of a mystery, but they were willing to share that number, and it's very low.
So if they're willing to tell you, then usually it's got to be a low number. They're not going to tell you if it's high.
No, well, exactly. But then they also, because they, as you heard Nathan say, they consider themselves a tech company, and they're licensing out their tech.
I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have these 2 droplets. One's looks like an actual water droplet, and the other one, because of the nutrients involved, is more like a mist. So there's a clip in the video where he pulled up the top, and you can see a bunch of mist. That's because of their nutrient mix or whatever.
That's not that the water missed the plant.
Yeah, so it's sort of like it's 2 different drop sizes.
Get it? He missed the plant.
I know. I
missed.
Get it. You missed it.
I missed it. I threw something at you, and I missed you.
I missed the punchline.
Okay.
Anyway, it was. It's very interesting. Nathan's super smart. He's been doing this stuff.
Is he a formerly educated scientist? Like, is he?
I don't know that, but I know his.
I thought for maybe he was a PhD. I thought for some reason.
I'm not too sure.
Or maybe he knows a couple or something.
Yeah, his. But I know growing cannabis has gone throughout the family. Like his grandfather was a farmer.
Yeah.
In the 30s, he told me was grew cannabis and sold it to other farmers.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that cannabis was a burgeoning industry 100 years ago, or not 100 years ago, but 80 or 90, sometime in the early part of the last century, in the first couple decades, there was a time when everybody was talking about hemp.
Yeah, but he's talking full-blown marijuana. Like, they knew what was, they could have a good time on it back then.
Whoa!
Yeah, but hemp was a big deal too. I mean, that's well established.
Put your dancing shoes on.
Yeah.
And of course, being from the Waterloo area, no stranger to the beer either.
That's right.
You know, Prosit.
Well, just like craft beer has become a booming thing. I mean, there's room for craft cannabis, but like we were talking with Brochstein, with the retail situation now, things are going to change, but you hope that it's going to be really diversified. And
how many microbreweries do you think there are in Canada? I just got this today from Terry Donnelly. Microbreweries.
I would hate to guess because I know you know what I would like to know
in Canada.
Yeah, I would like to know how many have started in the past 3 years.
And then failed too.
Well, but before, if you go back 15 years ago, there was like, a handful. So.
Do you know beer companies are losing sales like crazy because nobody's drinking regular beer anymore? Everybody wants to drink craft beer. Like,
I'm drinking regular beer. You know what beer I buy?
What do you drink?
I actually buy old style Pilsner.
Yeah.
For no other reason than.
Well, that's not regular beer.
Sure it is. It's.
How many people drink that?
I don't know, but I renovated my house on it, and it never. I don't get hangovers. I don't get hangovers or weird gut issues, and I like the taste.
You renovated your house on it?
Yeah.
That's that purple house with the white polka dots?
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Anyway, beer sales are down, and they're giving way to 800 microbreweries in Canada. 800.
800.
Yeah. Well, you go to Craft, the place on Yonge Street here, they'll tell you they got 200 beers to choose from. 200.
Yeah, and the ones with all the fruit in it and stuff, and I'm not interested.
No,
and that's the thing about cannabis too. When it comes to drinking it, I don't know about that. Because you know what it is? If you want to mix the two, I don't think you'll want to drink cannabis. You'll still want to smoke it because it's too much liquid in it's just too much to drink, right? Are you going to try...
Well, what about people that don't want, alcohol is such a difficult thing, right? So if you get the dosage right, let's say you sip a few glasses of wine, and the wine, it tastes reasonable, and you get a little buzz, so, no hangover. Like, the big thing with alcohol is really recovering from it, isn't it?
Yeah, the older you get too. Unless you're James, who doesn't seem to suffer from hangovers. I'm so pissed about that, by the way.
I didn't start having hangovers till I was about 58.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm now 58.1. I started getting, about 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago, and nothing bothered me.
Yeah.
Now everything bothers me.
I'm quite the opposite. I've been suffering massive.
Do you drink a lot of water?
The older I get, the more I realize I need to drink a lot more water.
You should be drinking 8 of these a day, 1 an hour at least. Give your organs a chance.
1 an hour? I'll be living in the toilets. Living in the toilets.
Your teeth will be floating. Okay.
Somebody says you probably drink Molson Export.
Who?
A member of our...
You?
No, you.
No. No, I like the. Well, right now I'm drinking a non-alcoholic beer, Beck's. Yeah. Beck's makes a non-alcoholic beer. Yeah. I can't even pronounce it. Yeah, 3 ingredients, 45 calories a bottle. 3 ingredients. What do you think they are?
I don't know. Hops.
Water, hops,
barley.
That's it.
No alcohol.
You should be making.
I know how they make beer.
No, you have beer, but you have to get rid of the beer somehow. I mean, you have alcohol.
I'd rather not get rid of the beer.
Right. Anyway, I digress.
Okay, folks. We're getting a recommendation. Nickelbrook Brewery in Burlington, best in Canada, bar none.
Nickelbrook.
Is that it?
Okay.
Yeah, Nickelbrook.
Okay, maybe we'll.
We'll get some in the office, and we'll do the next show hammered.
Yeah, I think the alcohol thing may become something like people are moving away from meat. I don't care what anybody says. that's another thing. It's like electric cars, gasoline. You know, you move away from certain things. No?
Yeah, but you know, you arrive somewhere. That's always some kind of a
there's somewhere to go.
Compromise.
If you leave somewhere else, you're going to end up somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the message. Okay. I would like to thank everyone for watching our show today, despite some of the comments. But
that's all right.
It's been fun.
We like a little honest, you know, objective.
Yeah, we like it.
Yeah,
we like to be beaten. Thanks, folks. If you want to subscribe or tell someone else to, we'd appreciate that. And thank you for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.